Welcome to the official podcast of Cardinals Nation 24/7. Each week, we put a unique perspective on bringing you the latest news, updates, and rumors of the St. Louis Cardinals baseball organization. Join the nation and stay informed by liking us on Facebook, following us on Twitter, subscribing to us on the podcast form of your choice, and most of all, by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Thank you all for supporting the nation. Let's get things started. Here are your hosts, Jared Redwine, Chris Lawless, and Larry Cox. Hello, Cardinals Nation, and welcome to another episode of Cardinals Nation 24/7 video podcast. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jared Redwine, joined as always by my good friends and my co-hosts, the one and only living legend, Larry Cox, and the founder of Cardinals Nation 24/7, Mr. Chris Lawless. Larry, good evening. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Jared. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. Thank you for asking. Chris, how are things in the Show Me State?
Well, aside from some snow that happened earlier, which was unexpected, we had 70-degree weather yesterday and snow today. Doing fine, catching up on the Cardinals and looking forward to chatting with you guys tonight.
That's good. At least it gives you guys something to do. Get out, get a little exercise, and shovel some snow. We appreciate everyone for joining us. If you like what you see and you're joining us again, you're already a subscriber, thank you. If you're not and you like what you do see, please like and subscribe. Tell your friends. We do appreciate all of the support. Today we're going to cover the last series at home against the Nationals, the series that we just had in Philadelphia with the Phillies. And then we're going to, kind of discuss the current series with the Nationals. And then the Phillies will be coming back to St. Louis shortly after. So we're going to kind of cover and run through those. We're going to go over some overall statistics so far, just kind of discuss the current makeup of the team. And we'll just get things going. We'll start off, real quick, guys. We just played the Nationals April 12th to the 14th. We ended up losing 2 out of 3. We've only won one series so far this year, so it's a little disappointing. We were 7 for 21 with runners in scoring position for that series, one of which was pretty much in one game. We did outscore the Nationals 16-14, but 14 of those runs came in one game. We ended up leaving a total of 34 men on base. It was a kind of a series combination of, bad pitching and bad hitting tied in together. All the offense, like I said, it came in only in one game. The bright side of that series was Flaherty did pitch 5 innings, struck out 6, didn't issue any walks, only 1 earned run. He did get a win. But the starting pitching still not going deep into games in this series are currently now. And the other bright side was Carp did get a 3-run home run. Carp did get a home run and 3 RBIs in the series. So it was nice to see him get a little redemption and kind of, get a little productivity at least. Chris, what was your thoughts on that series coming out with the Nationals? I know it was probably a few games ago for you, so maybe it's not fresh in mind, but I just wanted to cover over it real quick.
It's been, the feast or famine with the offense. It seems like, that's kind of been the forte really the last few years. The Cardinals will put up a ton of runs one game and can't seem to score the next couple games. With Matt Carpenter, it was good to see him kind of have a breakout game, much needed on his part. I did kind of put a post out on our page that was the spray chart, Matt Carpenter's spray chart for 2021, and it had just the bunt hit and the home run. And, that got a lot of reactions from folks. But, you want to see Carpenter succeed and you want to see the lineup, be a little more consistent. But like you said, the pitching, you've got to have starting pitching going deeper in games. Flaherty did, manage to get through 5, but more consistently, I think all through the rotation, you're going to have some arms eating innings. And that's been kind of a bugaboo for the Cardinals.
Yeah, Larry, we've seen it in the past before. Now we're starting to see it again. But the National Series was the same. We had the one good game where we broke out, and then the other game where nothing seems to come together. And when you don't have hitting or pitching either, it's kind of, it's going to result in a series loss like it did for the Cardinals.
Yeah, I think the inconsistencies of our pitching staff is the biggest thing right now. I think we're finding our way through the rotation itself. I think the Ponce experiment, I think it's pretty much come to an end now. He had the one game where he pitched really well, but in the very next game, not so well. The addition of Kim coming back, that'll put the end of Ponce. He'll move back to the bullpen. with Michaelis basically on the mend and starting to actually throw. Gant's numbers probably are set as well as how many games he's going to get left. The really surprising number that's jumped out to me as far as the hitting is Flaherty's getting almost 10 runs a game in support. And the other guys are barely scraping by to get 1 or 2 runs. But I still think, it's still the April. It's young players, our outfield, they're trying to find their way as well. The pitching staff pretty much is the same thing, I think. Gant was in the bullpen for so long. But I think it'll come around. I'm not scared yet. A month from now this time, probably.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. And it's pretty much most the same in the Philly series. But before we move on to that, we do want to mention our Cardinals Nation 24/7 T-shirts. We haven't released them yet, but you've seen us wear them a couple times before, maybe seen it on our Facebook group or page, the pictures. But we had some interest and we had people asking about it. So we do want to let people know that we are coming out with some. I'll got one handy right here. I'm not wearing it. I'm wearing my Matt Carpenter batting, but this is the design of what the shirt looks like. We're probably just going to do the first release in one color for the most part, but people have asked. So if you're interested, please let one of the 3 of us know. Send us a message of how many, if more than one, you would like and what particular size. And we're trying to just gather interest to see if it's worth putting together an order. We're not really trying to push them, but we kind of like them and we think they look pretty cool. And so now we're trying to do the same. See if anybody wants one. We'll start trying to piece together an order. We'll contact you. Maybe we'll do like a few bucks for a deposit or something until we get an order and then just pay the rest or we ship it. That way we can kind of piece something together. Chris, you a fan of the shirts?
Yes, they're fun to look at, obviously, but they are comfortable and good quality shirts. I like the white and red that you just showed, and that'll be the primary color of interest if we decide to sell some. But you had a black one made that looked pretty sharp too, so maybe down the line as more interest grows in it, maybe we'll experiment with other colors. But the white and red, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful shirt. Larry, any comments on yours?
No, I really like the shirt. I wear it. I get comments all the time when I wear the shirt. A lot of my friends aren't all Cardinals fans, so of course they don't tune in to watch this, or check us out. So the shirt they're like, oh, okay, so where'd you get the shirt? It's pretty cool. Can I get a shirt like that? Because they do like me, I guess. They're my friends. The few.
All 2 of them.
So I was going to say I gave them both $1. They'll admit to it, other than you two. So yeah, the shirts, all in all, I really like the shirts. I do encourage people to take a look at them, and if you're interested, like you said, we'll order those shirts, get them out to you.
Yeah, wait a minute. You gave your other 2 friends $1. Where the hell's my $1?
Chris took your $1.
Oh, as I say, Chris better like the design of the shirt, so he designed the damn thing. All right, gentlemen, moving along to the series at Philadelphia against the Phillies. Obviously, we lost that series as well. Lost 2 or 3 games. We were only 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position. Same thing as the prior series with the Nationals, and as we're currently seeing now, the Cardinals scored 11 in the series, the Phillies 15. 9 of those Cardinals 11 runs, came in one game. We left 33 on base. We left 34 on base the series before. And just don't want to, sound like we're skipping here on the track, but, it was a repeat of last series, all offense, is one game. Molina did have a nice outing. He went 4 for 12, had 4 RBIs, 2 home runs. Carlson also was 3 for 10, so he had good production, but he did leave 7 men on base himself alone in the series. Same thing. We're leaving a lot of guys on base, I've noticed, and that's just the inconsistency with the offense. We're a broken record here. Again, no starting pitcher in that series made it out of the 5th inning. The only win came out of the bullpen in the series, and I believe that came to Helsley, if I'm not mistaken. KK only went 3 innings, but he did make his return, so that was a positive note. I knew he was probably not going to go very long, and then once he had that long first inning, I knew he was just going to be a short outing for him. But, Philly, we've still had a lot of these series, Chris, where we're scoring similar, but it's all coming from one game, and then no pitching and the inconsistent offense. I know we just touched on it, but what do you think going into future series is something that the Cardinals should look at trying to do to mix it up or vary the results? The definition of insanity, right, is repeating the same thing, intending a different result or expecting a different result and not getting it. But your thoughts?
I did see where, Mike Schilt has bumped Carlson up, to the 5th spot. To go back on that Philadelphia series where Carlos kind of had the big inning of runs that he gave up, which really, there's a couple missed plays, one by Carlson and one by Carpenter, that kept that inning going. And, Schilt put him back out there, and really he finished up strong. He went back out there and got through some innings. And I think Carlos kind of got in his head there with a couple hit batters. That's, Carlos being Carlos, as we've said. But, yeah, it is the definition of insanity to keep doing the same thing over and over. So Schilt, I would like to see him tinker with the lineup a little different, with maybe having Nagowski get a start. I know Justin Williams is starting to, hit a little bit, but, you've got to be able to tinker with things. Carpenter, love the guy to death, but to keep running him out there, just hoping for a different result, I don't know. That leash needs to get shorter and shorter. But then again, we're coming up on the end of April, and we said he'd have that first month. I don't know what's going to give come May.
Mm-hmm. And you see what's going on now, and we still think the season is early, but it is. But now we're roughly 3 turns through the rotation, and the first month is almost over, and we're in 3rd place, barely, in the division. Larry, what do you think the Cardinals need to do, in your opinion, to try to, tweak what's going on, try something different, whether it be the bullpen, the batting order? I was a big batting order guy, and they finally have, like Chris said, flipped that around. It seemed to work yesterday. I like the idea of splitting up, Williams and Carlson and trying to vary that lineup, and with his high OPS, trying to make something happen. And DeYoung has just not been performing either. But Larry, your thoughts?
The biggest things that I've been looking at the stats, we're tied for first in home runs in the league with Atlanta with 25. We're at 4th in runs scored. So that leads me to believe it's not the offense. The problem is though we're streaky, like Chris said. We one game we scored 10 or 11, the next game we can't push a run across. I think situational hitting is the hardest thing for a young player. I think, again, we're going to, keep going back to a lot of those players are younger. This is their first real experience in the major leagues. Plus the fact, losing O'Neill and Bader both, which were the most experienced outfielders, that hurts. But, again, our pitching staff still not getting through 5 and giving up a lot of runs. That's the other thing. So I think it's a combination of everything. And I think, again, I'm going to keep saying it's April. A team kind of has to gel and find their way. And I think it's the same with the batting order and the lineups. It takes a while to figure out which guys can fall into what position. And when you've got, 3 or 4 guys that are fairly new to this team and in this league, that's a lot of changes going on right now. So, and then, you bring over Arenado. He's new to the team, new stadiums he hasn't played in quite as many times. They had the visiting times, but not as many times. That's another thing. I mean, it's getting accustomed to everybody in the team, but I see a lot of positives with the negatives, so I don't want to always just harp on just the negatives all the time.
Yeah, I had that note wrote down too about the home runs, but then, they have to find ways to, get runs in other ways. 25 home runs is great, but that apparently looks like that's the main way we're scoring the runs. They got to start playing some small ball, and I think a lot of that has been so far this year is we've had hitters on the lineup. It's just been so lopsided, that's why I like seeing Carlson moved around, because we've got basically the top half of the batting order performs, the bottom half, isn't doing anything, with DeYoung's hitting, under 200, Carp is hitting, under 100. Then you have the pitcher spot. Then you have Williams, who's kind of turned it on, but there for a while he was under 200. So it's like, okay, we got 4 guys that are hitting, like a reserve catcher, and the rest of, Major League Baseball. So that was definitely an issue. But let me circle back to you, Chris. We're talking about this. We're talking about the rotation. Jack Flaherty does appear to be our ace of the team, but he hasn't pitched, past the 5th inning. But he is 3-0. What are your thoughts on Flaherty? And you also wanted to cover his strikeout accomplishment, so you can touch on that also. But is Flaherty the ace, and do you figure out of our ace he should be going more than just 5 innings? And what do you think is causing him from doing that?
I think and congratulations to Flaherty, who's the quickest Cardinal in history to reach 500 strikeouts. Which that's an amazing feat in itself. But him being 3-0 and getting all the run support that he has, that's kind of boded well for him. But again, like you said, if you're only going 5 innings, and what is the main cause of that? And I think Jim Edmund says it best, during the games, that he's throwing a lot of wasted pitches. He's trying to be more finesse than blowing them away with the stuff that he has. He can be a finesse pitcher, but he has power stuff. I think he needs to play more into trusting the defense behind him, being able to pitch to contact. You don't have to have a strikeout every pitch. Every batter doesn't have to K. I think that's a lot of his issue, but I think he is the ace of the staff. We've talked about his future here, of whether he'll end up a Cardinal or if he'll move on to California or greener pastures. I think he's all about the money, but I would like to see the Cardinals find a way to lock him down, because I think he has electric stuff and he's very headstrong. I mean, if he starts to struggle, he doesn't get in his head like Carlos. He's mature for his age, and a very young arm, talented arm. Just right now, luck's been on his side with having the run support.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, because if you look at his numbers also, Flaherty's not walking a lot of people. So he's getting into these high count situations, and he's getting the same end result that we want, is to get guys out. He's just taking longer to get there. And I think part of that is, like you said, he's a power pitcher. He's got, he's effective with his pitches, but he doesn't have a lot of finesse or movement. I think, pitching to contact earlier in the count will help him, and then let your Gold Glove defense, for the most part, that's behind you, take care of the rest. Larry, what say you? 500 strikeouts is a hell of a feat already in his very young career. Is Flaherty an ace going 5 innings?
I don't like the term ace. I really don't, because when you say an ace, how many aces really are there in National League right now?
Well, there should be 15.
There should be, but is there really the best pitchers in the league? Some teams, you look at the Nationals, so they could probably have 2 or 3 at one time on their team. But to say ace means the best. I think he's the number 1 pitcher right now. I don't think he's the ace of the staff. I think he should be, and I think he will be. But currently, I think he's still finding his way. One of the other things I kind of thought about while you guys talking about this, last year, maybe a different philosophy. Maybe the pitchers were pitching up to get the fly balls because our outfield was better defensively than our infield. So maybe now there's a change in philosophy that we're trying to get the ball down. So maybe the pitchers are trying to pitch to different locations in the zone to try to get the ground balls, because you have a Gold Glove infield. So maybe that's a little bit of a difference. Their kind of philosophy change. I don't know. If I were a manager, that's probably what I'd be looking at. I want the guy to hit the third base or first base or second base. I don't want him hitting the outfield, the young kids in the outfield that are misplaying balls. So I just wondered if that's part of it as well. But back to his 500th strikeout, I think that's amazing, considering you have Gibby, a lot of those guys that came before him that are huge in our minds that we've seen pitch over the years, the Carpenters, those guys that we grew up with, even Waino. And to see this young kid, that means a lot. It really does. So ace or not title-wise, they just proves the kid has definite talent. So a lot of people are mistaken by not acknowledging he has those abilities.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let me swing this around to another question too. It was an interesting move during this series, against the Phillies. I said 2 words, tied them together there. Cardinals made an interesting move, Chris. They called up Scott Hurst, who isn't on the prospect list and probably would have been everyone's guess furthest from their mind. Whenever we saw guys from spring training like Parsons that didn't get a 40-man nod and struggling with the pitching rotation, and we've still yet to see Nogowski get a start in the outfield, and they call up Hurst. What are your thoughts, or what do you think the logic is and the reasoning behind that move?
I'm really not sure. I was surprised when I heard it. I know Lane Thomas had a rough outing, and they kind of left him at the alternate site and decided to bring Hurst along. I think it's a little premature, considering he hasn't played above Double-A, I believe. So it was, I don't know. He had an okay spring, but it was a kind of a shock to see them, bring him up, especially when, you've brought Nagowski up and let his bat go cold, without giving him really an opportunity at a outfield spot. It doesn't have to be every
A
day.
single start. He's not got a single start. Yeah.
So to expect his bat to have played from a hot spring training, bring him up and just have, a handful of pinch hit at bats, you can't expect that bat to remain hot. So I thought it was a little odd to try this kid out and put him on the 40-man. You do have the timeline, I guess, with O'Neill and Bader. O'Neill will be back before Bader, but it just didn't make a whole lot of sense. I know Dean and Williams are still kind of, they're streaky. Sometimes it looks like they're, making a case to stay with the team, and other times they are what they are. But I was really surprised. It kind of seemed like a wasted spot on the roster bringing that kid up.
Yeah, that's kind of what was going through my mind, and still is today. Larry, your thoughts on Hurst, the logic behind it, and why do you think they did it? What say you?
Well, two reasonings, I think, really, is that he is somebody you're not going to miss if you do have to bring him up. He doesn't do a whole lot. You'll release him or let him go or whatever. It's not a big loss because nobody really knows who he is. The second thought is you realize who his best friend growing up is, right? Jack Flaherty's his best friend. And so that's another thing. Maybe there's a connection there that we don't know about. Maybe Flaherty's having some issues because the first thing he said when he came up was he couldn't wait to see Mama Flaherty. That was the thing. So I don't know. I mean, because we do have Livator and my mind just went blank. Gorman, thank you, sir. Gorman, the connection there. Maybe they're looking to these young guys to help them mature if they have a sidekick along with them. Who knows? Because, we do have the Waino connection and the Yachty. So what's the next connection in this? What's the next growing up with somebody else in tow? So I don't know. Maybe but maybe the kid has a flash that we don't know about that he's done, with no spring training per se, extended spring training or no sites really other than just play and catch and hit pitch. Maybe he did something we don't know about. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd have to be something that nobody knows about because his minor league numbers on the offensive side of things are not impressive at all. But we did have a lot of outfield miscues, and the outfield hasn't looked as sharp. So, Chris, would you think it's safe to say that everyone's missing Harrison Bader a little?
A little. Defensively, obviously, but, as far as the batting average goes, I just looking top to bottom of the outfield, Carlson's going to have his growing pains, but he's been pretty sharp, and again, Williams and Dean at times look like they can handle the position, other times not. And Tommy Edmund has really adjusted. I think he can play the outfield, but I want to see him at second base. That's where we're going to be playing him going forward. And, Larry likes to say he wants to put Carlson in a spot and let him adjust, to that position, get used to it. It's going to be the same with Edmund. I think he needs to be at second base to get those reps in with the young, play in the infield. And right now to have him in the outfield, I know it's primarily for his bat and, the lack of production from the offense, but I'd like to see him go back to having Edmund be your second baseman and Carp on the bench.
Yeah, I agree with you there too, but he has looked really good in the outfield. He's made some amazing plays and had some great throws to hold runners. And one thing I like about Edmund is he's at least a smart guy, and he's, a lot of these younger outfielders, like I've already seen Williams do it, is, a lot of times they're trying to do extra, they're trying to be extra and they're trying to make the throw to third when the guys run instead of just hitting the cutoff man and playing things smart. They're playing like they're still in AAA, but I am glad Williams has come around a little bit. I think mixing the batting order up a little bit, moving Carlson up so we don't have everyone batting from the same side of the plate definitely helps some of these guys. So hopefully he gets a little bit of confidence and it helps. But Larry, you got to figure, we thought we were going to have, one of the best outfields in baseball with O'Neill and Bader. Because one thing you can't deny about Harrison, he is a hell of a defender and he's got great speed, and we've been lacking. So are you looking forward to the return of Bader and O'Neill?
My biggest question will be is what happens when those two come up? Is that experiment over? Does he go to the bench? Are you going to – the kid's finally hitting a little bit. Now you're going to push him to the bench so Bader can come in and hit 100. That's the scary part about that. But definitely with the defense, I think that's the one thing we are missing out of Bader, that Gold Glove defense that he can play. O'Neill's the other one. The problem is, again, you're bringing two more guys that are basically holes in the batting lineup. So are we going to forfeit some power versus the glove? I mean, I don't know. I hate to see Williams go to the bench right now after he's finally figured it out a little bit. But again, like I've said before, I'd like to see Carlson move to right field and left alone. And unfortunately, him and Williams play the same position, so that's another. I kind of thought, well, if Edmund's going to play the outfield, why isn't he playing center field? He's athletic enough. He's smart enough. Why isn't Carlson in right field and leave him alone? But maybe they're trying to make him a center fielder so they can get rid of Bader. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to tell what the thought process is there with Hurst and all the movings and goings on. And I know Lane Thomas, being sent back to the alternate site was a big deal for everybody. But to me, I thought he needed it. He only got one error, but he could have had several more. He just did not look to be the Lane Thomas that we're familiar with 2 years ago before he had his broken wrist. And it kind of makes me feel bad for him because he was performing really well offensively and defensively, and then he got hit by a pitch and broke his wrist. And we haven't got a chance to see him up close since, and then it looked like we were going to get a chance, and unfortunately it didn't work out for him. So who knows when the next time is we will see Lane Thomas. I wanted to mention too also, we've got Conversation with the Nation. It's a live show we do on YouTube, and we also shared the link on our Facebook page and group. We did it last month, and we're going to do it again on this coming up Thursday. So when this video is out, if you like what you see here, you can tune in and go watch that. We call it Conversation with the Nation because we try to take questions from the group and subscribers here on YouTube and from our Facebook group and page. So if you have something you would like us to talk about, whether it's on this show, we'll still do it even here if it's good enough. You just have to be good. We're real selective here because we're so professional and top notch, ESPN-like, that we want to make sure it's a good question. All the other riffraff, we put that on the live show we're going to do Thursday. That's what Chris specializes in. Also, so he takes every question, from beard grooming tips to sweeping the snow off your porch, all that kind of stuff. That's what that's for. He'll answer anything.
Yeah, that's fun stuff.
Yeah. No limitations. Anything you can think of.
Anything goes. Yeah, well, so far we've got Russ Robinson from Redbird Rants. He's a writer that he'll be joining us on Conversation with the Nation, as well as Brad Kell, who writes for Arch City Media and also a moderator for our Cardinals Nation 24/7 Facebook group. So they'll be joining us, and we've got a few more that are not quite RSVP'd for it yet. So we have those jotted down, and that'll be the crew we run with.
Yeah, check out our live show section on YouTube. We have 2 different playlists. We have the regular season episodes if you just want to get the, nuts and bolts, I guess I should say, of what's going on with the season. But if you want to hear the extra stuff and, it gets a little exciting whenever you have a little round table and can throw things back and forth, check that out on our live playlist. Guys, coming up, the National Series finishes up on the 21st, which is Wednesday. They have an off day Thursday, and then they're back to St. Louis to play the Reds for 3 games, who took care of us last time. And then the Phillies are coming to St. Louis. We're playing now. We're playing a lot of these National League East teams early and getting the matchups out of the way. I'm not really a big fan of seeing the Nationals, back to back so quick. Same with the Phillies. I'd like to see them later whenever, you get a better look and the season gets rolling a little bit. But they're going to play for 4 games in St. Louis after that. Currently in the National League Central Division, the Reds are leading at 9-6. The Brewers are 9-7. The Cards are 500 at 8-8, and the Pirates are 1 behind at 7-9. And then the Cubs bringing up the rear, which is how most Cubs fans like it. They're 6-9. Guys, Chris? Are you shocked right now to see where the Cardinals are at? Everyone figured we were going to be first. I figured it was going to be a little tougher, but I didn't expect them to be in the middle of the pack at the end of the first month.
Yeah, to be 500 right now, I thought we'd be a little bit better than that. Looking at our schedule, I figured we would have a little bit tough of a go. Phillies and Nationals, neither one are a cakewalk to get past. And, you want to win the series. That's the main thing. You don't go in expecting a sweep all the time. But, to have lost a few series now, that's kind of tough to swallow. The Reds' bats have been hot, so that's kind of been a little bit of a surprise that they have carried that momentum. And the Cubs, on the other hand, have been so cold with the bats that I couldn't imagine them being the bottom feeders even below Pittsburgh, which Pittsburgh's right on our heels right now. So I had predicted them not to win, 60 games, for the season. They've already got 7. So it'll be interesting. I think our division, again, we've talked before, the division beats up on itself. I don't think that makes us a weak division. I just think that means every team in it, for whatever reason, we really battle strong with each other. And, sometimes fans kind of look at that like, hey, we're just weak. And I think there's just a lot of powerhouses that can be good on any given night. With the Reds, I think it's their bats that carry them. Their pitching isn't that great. Pittsburgh is kind of, you expect to win every time you go out against them, but you never know what you'll get. And Milwaukee's a tough team. They've got good pitching and hitting.
Yeah, I think the reason why we see, the Reds doing so well is, like you said, their offense has been really well, but their offense is also consistent. They're consistently putting up runs, as to where we're hot and cold, and our pitching hasn't performed at all. And then you have the Brewers, who are good at both sides of the ball. They're not excellent, but they're enough to be competitive. And the Cubs are going to lose the majority of their games, but then they're going to have games like they did the other day where they put up, 16 runs. And part of the thing with the Pirates is a lot of people may be going in with their guard down, trying to take advantage or thinking it's they're going to be an easy situation where they're going to win a series, and they don't, because the Pirates are a young team and got something to prove. Larry, what do you think? I mean, are you pretty much, you think we're right where we should be, or where you thought we would be?
Yeah, I mean, all in all, look at the schedule. Like Chris said, you're playing the Phillies and the Nats. They're both quality teams. You play the Reds at home. We always know what happens in Cincinnati. That ballpark carries the home run. I am shocked that the Cincinnati's went outside of Cincinnati and still been able to put up the power numbers they're putting up. The Brewers kind of shocked me when they come in. They did what they did to us. But again, we're back to, scoring all the runs in one game and not scoring any of the rest of the series. So all in all, I think 500 is probably about where we should have been, probably, I would say. The good thing is, we just start looking up, man. We start chasing them down. If we win the series against Cincinnati, we're right back in the driver's seat. So that puts, then that puts the Brewers in our target area. We're going to beat up on the Cubs. We're going to beat up on the Pirates. That's just going to happen as the year goes. Because unfortunately, I just don't see the Cubs are going to get any better. I think they're actually going to start depleting their roster as the year goes. I think they're going to start trading off pieces. So,
yeah. I think, too, it's kind of shocking as we're talking about the Reds and how they're a power team, but we hit more home runs than they do. Just the whole part of consistency, I think, because like Larry mentioned earlier, we're tied with the Braves for the Major League lead coming into today's date of Tuesday, whatever it is, the 21st, 20th. We're 25. Just like we talked about with the two previous series, means we're only scoring when we hit the long ball. The flip side of that is we're 27th in Major League Baseball in ERA and second in walks. So obviously we have a huge problem with the pitching. So Chris, I want to go to you. Every time we have a bright spot, we call up Hurst, right? So now the 40-man roster is full because they moved Hudson to the 60-day to make room for him. So Parsons didn't get a look, and he was probably our best control pitcher, and that's what all the scouts have said, as far as pinpoint control and accuracy. He's one of the best, in the whole system for the Cardinals organization. He doesn't get the call, and we actually looks like we could use that. Johan Oviedo looks good, comes in, takes over for Ponce. When Ponce is out there giving up batting practice, he gets sent to the alternate site. At some point in time, you have to think the Cardinals, we're through the first month of the season. Like we said, you don't win a championship in April, but you can definitely get yourself behind or in a situation to lose. The Cardinals at some point have to start thinking about looking at making some changes and mixing some things up, because going in this, same pattern of the same guys running out there just isn't working for them.
Yeah, that was one thing, when Oviedo had his appearance and he looked good, they sent him back to the alternate site and had Whitley come up. It makes sense because, you're not going to pitch Oviedo again, that quickly. So like a move like that, I could understand. But, even the arms that we do have in-house right now, Tyler Webb has pitched almost every single game. And while he has looked, he's done what he needed to for the most part, he gets guys out. He's already, not on the injured list, but had a pulled groin from I would say, getting up and warming up so much. I mean, you do only have the 3 lefties in the pen with Cabrera and Miller, who Miller doesn't look that sharp. But you can't just keep going to the well, over and over again, or his arm's going to fall off, and it's not even May yet. And then what are you going to do for a lefty come May and beyond if Webb goes down injured? I mean, Cabrera can give you multiple innings, but Andrew Miller can't. So I think that's something the Cardinals, it almost seems like they're afraid to let a pitcher like a Helsley or somebody go more than an inning. They figure that 1 inning, get them out. I'd like to see a couple of those relievers, because they're all starters that have turned relievers. Let them go a couple innings. Save a guy a day off. And that's something that I don't know if it's Schilt or Maddox, but they need to do a better job with managing the mileage on that bullpen, because especially if our starters aren't going more than 5 innings, you're going to hurt the bullpen in the long run.
Yeah, some of these guys, it seems like we see a lot of the same ones repeatedly. We've been seeing Cabrera a lot, which he can go a couple innings, but you don't want to run him out there every day and have him pitch a couple innings. But I feel like we haven't seen Reyes as much as we should. And I feel like we haven't seen Hicks a whole lot. Hicks has pitched really well. I get they're trying to ease him back into things. But then if they're really that worried about it, should he maybe have started at the alternate site or did the extended spring training or something of that nature? Because and the bad thing about the bullpen, Helsley has inflated ERA. Cabrera did have, but he's actually got his back down to a respectable number just because of backing up the rotation, who has not been able to go. The bullpen can't go a whole month. They might be able to go a turn through the rotation of having some short starts, but they got to have performance in the starting rotation or the bullpen. This is exactly what's going to happen. And then you have guys like Miller and Helsley who haven't looked as good. But Larry, what do you think? How long do you think this continues? I know Kim is back, so it kind of gives a different look, but Gandis hasn't looked well. Ponce is still on the team for some reason, and his ERA's got to be over 10 still, and he's just serving up fly balls, which he's been a fly ball pitcher. Now it's just coming back to bite him.
Yeah, I think, like Chris said, I think, the sending Oviedo back to the training side, the alternate side, I think that was the best move because he wasn't going to pitch. It gives you Whitley. You can burn through his arm a little bit for a couple days, what have you. The rotation in the bullpen itself, I haven't understood at all. Give some of these other guys a chance. Let them see what they have. Like we keep saying, it's April, and especially, I've seen the runs we've given up. So who cares if it's Whitley or one of these other guys getting hammered on? Why are we bringing Webb in and let him pitch in a game we're down by 8 or 9 runs? That makes no sense to me. And we keep sending him out there, and I thought we fired Mike Matheny. I thought he was over in Kansas City, but evidently Schilt paid too much attention to the bullpen rotation there. Or maybe it is Maddox, like you said. I would just see these young kids get an inning where they do succeed or fail. They get the opportunity. Even if it's a second inning with, some of these kids. Whitley was a starter. Some of these other kids. It's time to let them see what they can do. Gallegos hasn't pitched a whole lot. For him, that was a guy that we rode a couple years ago. We climbed on his back 2 years ago, and just every time there was a chance, it looked like he was our Webb of that year. And now we're not getting the chance to hardly see him at all. Reyes kind of confuses me. That guy could pitch probably 3 or 4 innings if you let him. Why is he not getting, even an inning here or there? It's kind of like he comes in and spot finishes or whatever. And I realize he's the designated closer right now, and we're not really closing
closer, even though he's a designated closer, right? Even though they said to start the season we're not going to have one, and then in the first 2 games they're like, oh, he's going to be our closer.
Right. Yeah, I think it's just, like I said, I think it's not gone the way they've said that we're going to do this committee thing. It's the Tyler Webb show is what it's turned into.
Yeah, I would have a situation where you have like a Gann or a Waino that can't go past 5 innings. I would have Reyes come up and pitch 2 or 3, kind of like Chris said, or Cabrera 2 or 3, and kind of maybe have a piggyback situation in mind. Okay, well, we're going to have Ponce or Gantz going in 2 days, so the day before Cabrera or Reyes, you're probably not going to throw because we're going to keep you ready. Yeah, go ahead, Larry.
Even like the game where we all seen Carlos implode for 6 runs, basically it was 2 errors behind him and he lost it. He still pitched a hell of a game. You take out that inning, Carlos had a good solid game and they pulled him from it, and they should have let him keep throwing. He already lost the game for him. Why not pitch through it? Then they pull him out and they bring somebody else in. I think it was Miller. I think they brought in, at the time and let Miller pitch like a couple of batters, and they pulled him out. It just makes no sense to me, the logic behind it.
Yeah, they're going to have to do something, but I would much rather see Reyes get a start here or two, at least until Nicholas is back to kind of mix up this rotation. Or I would throw Oviedo in there. He's got good stuff. He looked sharp, and then everyone was even talking about how good he looked, and then he's gone. To me, it made no sense. There's plenty of other options to sit down. You could send Ponce down. He has options available to try to get his head right or figure out what's going on with him. But that hasn't happened. So I don't know. I think they're going to have to be quick, to do something different. I think we saw that yesterday with the batting order. That's why Carlson moved. He had one of the highest OPSs on the team, and he was batting, in between two guys that couldn't hit out of a wet paper bag. So obviously he's not going to get anything to hit. But I think the reason he has had a high OPS of 917 coming into today was because he hasn't been under pressure. And we talked about that at the beginning of the year, not to go back and hash old episodes we've already done, but we talked about how, Arenado was going to help relieve the stress on some of these guys. The only person we haven't seen it too much is DeYoung, but maybe sliding him down in the order now a little bit behind Molina and Carlson will kind of relax him a little bit and let him kind of come into a groove, because we all know DeYoung can get hot and carry the team for a week, or he might not do anything for 2.5 weeks. That's just the kind of player I think he is, and it's a player you can live with, but you can't live with it when you've got 4 guys like we talked about with Bader. If Bader was playing right now, everybody would be wanting his head currently, because when you have 4 guys that are hitting 200, it draws more emphasis. You're only supposed to have 1 or 2 of those guys. But, now it's more of an acceptable thing, but you can't have the whole bottom half, because then there's just half the game, you're basically throwing it away and hoping something happens or someone makes a mistake to where they can get on base.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks there because, Kim in his start, he went 3 innings, and they say they're going to kind of baby him back. Well, is that, maybe the thinking behind that is due to him what we talked about maybe with Martinez, and have him be a opener for somebody. If you're only going to expect 3 innings out of him, already have Cabrera planning to take over from Kim and Kim's start. And Schilt had talked about a week ago, maybe during a stretch of games, having a 6-man rotation. I would think that would be ideal, but even when your starting pitchers only go 5 innings, I don't think you should need a 6-man rotation. If they shouldn't be that damn fatigued,
If they're only going 5 innings, you probably need a damn 7 or 8-man rotation, because you need 2 a game to get through 7 innings, apparently.
Right.
But I get what you're saying, but that's why I was kind of saying, you've got a bullpen of a lot of guys, right? You even have a taxi squad you can take advantage of. And those people have already been sit down, like Woodford. Keep those guys on standby if you got to do a move. And if people don't know how options work, once you send a person down for the year, you can send them up and down 20, 30 times. There's no limit on how many times you can send a player up and down. So get creative with it. We got guys that can't have innings. We've got Woodford, we've got Whitley, we've got Oviedo. We've got these guys that we've already sent up and down. Take advantage of that. And then if you have say you have, Gant going when he hasn't looked as great, then the next thing you've got Reyes or Cabrera if you want to do the lefty situation. Okay, so you don't use Cabrera the day or 2 before and say you're going to be prepared. You're my guy. You're first up for Gant. And if you don't have to use him, great. Extra day of rest for Cabrera. Use him for the next guy. But I think all it would take is a little bit of planning. Same thing for Kim. I would like to see Reyes, back him up. Okay, so Kim's not going to come out. So what do? You bring in Reyes that throws on the opposite side. He's a right-hander and he's got different movement on his pitches. Keep the hitters off balance at least. And if our guys aren't scoring runs, maybe we keep them from scoring, so damn many. We almost got Jack ended up winning the game yesterday, which would have been Monday's game, but we still gave up, 5-6 runs. You can't do that in a typical game, or it's going to be a loss.
No, if you had guys up like the Johan Quezada kid or Seth Elledge, or Junior Fernandez or somebody that's had a little bit of major league experience. If you had guys like that, you could stopgap your bullpen from having to go to Miller and Webb constantly. I mean, that totally makes sense what you're saying. I just don't know why the Cardinals aren't going that route right now.
Yeah, especially with the taxi squad, those guys are there. They're with the team. So making that maneuver should not be a difficult decision or take a lot of, as far as planning goes. There's no flight itineraries for making sure they make it to the park in time. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. This rotation can't keep going the way it is with 5 innings for each. But we do have a couple bright spots, you guys. Tommy Edmund has looked really good this year. 294 average, 351 on base, 792 OPS. Got a couple home runs, 4 RBIs, 3 stolen bases. And what do you think so far of him with playing the multiple positions? He still looked good defensively too, Chris, but he's been a bright spot for the team, especially after we were worried with Colton Wong leaving. Edmonds looked really good.
Yeah, I mean, he's what your prototypical leadoff guy would look like. I mean, I think Danny Mac was kind of going over the numbers of what he's now reached his 162 game mark. And, I think 270, 280 type of hitter with 20 stolen bases, close to 20 home runs. I mean, that's what you want to see from your leadoff guy. But like Larry has said, and I brought it up too, you want the guy to be a second baseman. Plug him in there. That's where he needs to be at. But yeah, he's looked good. The fact that he can be a utility player, I mean, it's a plus, but I think the Cardinals have had that with so many ball players in the past, like a Skip Schumacher and others, that they use those guys as utility players and they never get really – they don't exceed at one position because they use that should be an advantage, turns out to be a disadvantage. I think it plugs them more into a bench role, and you want Edmund to be the guy, so go ahead and give him that spot now.
Yeah, you're looking for him to get in that comfort zone, to get kind of settled in the position and let everything else come to him. And these are creatures of habit, so hopefully they get settled in and things start clicking for them a little easier. But no, it makes perfect sense, Chris. And Larry, you have to probably figure Edmund is more consistent offensively than what we've seen from Colton Long in the past.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember back to Colton in year 2 or year 3, he was still trying to hit the 8 home run, with nobody on base. And so he was still struggling. He wasn't hitting the all fields. He really didn't come into his own until like last year, the year before last. That's when he really started hitting. But his glove was always consistent. The base running level left a lot to be desired with Colton, and especially his speed never made sense. But with Edmund, I compare him to the younger Albert Pujols as far as the baseball level IQ. We plugged Albert into right field, third base, first base, wherever we needed him, and it worked out because he was a smart baseball player. I think that's what a lot of this team is missing is we just don't have the high IQs that we've had in the past with these guys. I think they have athletic ability, and I think that's what we've gone down that road, and that's why we end up with the Williams and those guys that are very athletic, but doesn't mean they understand the game and the concepts. That's the thing with Edmund. It seems like we plug him at third base. He did all right. I mean, he wasn't an all-star, but he did all right. He held his own, and he's definitely better than Carpenter. Then you put him at second, and you forget who Colton Wong even is there for a while. Then next thing you know, he's in right field. You're like, what's this kid's future? And I think that Tony La Russa did that to a lot of players when he was here. I think he created that utility role with a lot of guys, and they had good talent, but I think he was always afraid they'd get overexposed at one position, so he kept bouncing them around, just trying to hide them. But I think guys like Edmund, I think he's a quality second baseman. I think that's where he should be. Just like I keep saying, Carlson should be in right field, left alone. I mean, you don't know what Goldie is. Maybe Goldie can play shortstop. We don't know, but he's never played there. Why? Because he's a damn good first baseman. Don't move him. So,
and some of these guys you have to figure. I want to keep some of the good news going too. But and another one that's doing well is the GOAT, Yadier Molina. I mean, he is having a hell of a year. He's 309. Batting average 350, on base percentage 932, now OPS. He's got 4 home runs and 12 RBIs in a short season, leading the team. I mean, we know Yadi's not going to come in and be a hindrance on this team. We talked about that. We thought he was probably asking for a little too much money and he wasn't going to be the same of old. But Yadi's looking pretty good, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, you can't say right now that we can already tell he'll be back next year, but if he keeps this up at any kind of a clip, I can't imagine that he'll want to hang him up at the end of this season. He's doing everything that's expected, and to have him move up to not just the 5th spot, but batting cleanup. You're telling me that anybody in their right mind would have had Molina pegged as your cleanup hitter, your 5 hitter, hitting as well as he has. I don't think anybody would have bought that.
Yeah, Larry, what say you? I know you were kind of cautious about giving him a lot of money up front, as was I. But he's earning his money so far, and he's continuing to lead this team. And even though we're worried about the start of the year, now you see what he's doing. You're just kind of like, yeah, I can see it. I mean, he's not surprising too many of us, but it's just pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, I mean, to see a 39-year-old catcher do what he's done has been pretty amazing. I was more concerned with him wanting a multi-year deal, and then he was wanting to handcuff the salary as well. And I thought, with us shedding Fowler and shedding maybe Carpenter at the end of the year, the loss of those high contracts, then Waino comes off. That was kind of a nice thing that we could go out and add some younger talent and maybe spend a little money on pitching. But he's surprised me. I mean, like I said, our last show, as we said we wouldn't do this anymore. But I'll own up to it. I mean, I was one of those guys that said, "Hey, let's see what Knizner can do, and let's move forward with him and start looking toward Herrera to be here." But instead, the guy surprised me. I mean, he's dominating again. His knowledge is definitely there. You can't take it away from him, man. And the pitchers love the guy, so that's all that matters when you're a catcher, I guess.
Yeah, he's done a great job, and he continues to amaze us and blow us away. Each and every year, he still goes up and performs at a high level. It's crazy, and you've got all these guys that he used to be neck and neck with for a few years, like Luke Roy and Buster Posey and stuff, and even Joe Mauer. Those guys have all
those guys, yeah.
Yeah, those guys have all gone to the wayside, and Yachty is still here, still tearing it up. So it's crazy. Then on the positive side too, I mean, Arenado and Goldie have done what we thought they would do. They've both performed well. I mean, they're not, carrying the team on their back or anything, but they're definitely performing like we all figured they would and doing well. So I don't want to just skip over them. And Carlson's been sneaky with his 917 OPS, and it looks like he's increasing that number as we speak. So I mean, it's pretty impressive. But it's nice to see Carlson get into a comfort zone. Hopefully, he can increase his average, but with Arenado and Goldie and then Carlson, that's a pretty good three-person, three amigos tandem there.
Yeah, when you've got those two kind of not just bats but ball players to be in a clubhouse with, that you can kind of pick their brain and use as mentors. I think that just helps out Carlson too, and it'll be interesting to see when O'Neill and Bader both come back if Carlson is going to continue to be slotted in a certain position, or if Williams is going to be, kept up. It's just there's so many different variables right now. But yeah, Goldschmidt and Arenado, they're going to hold it down and be your cornerstones for several years, and I think that helps guys like an Edmund, like a Carlson, and even DeYoung. It takes a lot of pressure off him defensively to have Arenado right there. So those guys, it was to be expected that they would be doing well. It's just getting every player to click on all cylinders right now. You can have three guys hitting the ball. If the rest of the team isn't, you're not going to win a whole lot of ball games.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And Arenado and Goldie are doing like we expected, and Arenado has to be happy, Larry, because the Cardinals are only 500 at a record of 8-8 as we're recording this, but that's double the wins that the Colorado Rockies currently have.
Yeah, I mean, the guy was promised they were going to build, and they, him and Story would be the leading tandem there, and it just didn't work out for him. So he's thrilled. I mean, if you hit any press conference, you hear the guy, he's like a 10-year-old on Christmas, man. He loves it here, and just the tandem, like Chris said, the corners, that's huge. And even like DeYoung, the defense, he's moved further to his left now, so he doesn't have to take away the hole as much as he did in the past. So I think his defense has even gotten better this year. We've covered up even with Carp at second base. We haven't had that much of a letdown defensively. So that's the big thing with this team, that those guys being around. I think their work ethic of Goldie and Arenado, I think that's huge. These are young guys. They see the professional hitters and the professional guys come on. That's a huge difference from those kids at AA or AAA that are just trying to make the show.
Yeah. And Chris, I want to circle back to you. I know we kind of touched on it a lot. I want to hit on it again. But, I mean, you've got DeYoung and Carp performing so poorly. And then again today, we're facing we were facing a lefty when the game started, but still no Nagowski. What do you think is the logic behind Nagowski and even Sosa not getting any playing time? I mean, it's kind of a little bit of a shocker, especially when we're kind of struggling to find our offense. What do you think the logic is behind that? Or will we see them start, or do you think as soon as somebody comes back, they're just going to be sent down?
It's hard to say because the Nagowski thing really is a head scratcher for me just because he hits so damn well in spring training. But seeing Carpenter,
like you said, like you and I were talking recently, you said, their statement for him being on the team was what?
Well, yeah, that they couldn't justify keeping him down. He was hitting so well, and not just hitting well, but seeing the ball well and getting on base, and that's what it all boils down to. Had one of the best on base percentages in all of baseball during spring training. But when you've got DeYoung has some power, obviously he's got a few home runs already, but he's had those long stretches without hits. Carpenter, I don't care what they say about exit velocity and how hard he's hitting the ball. To me, and I put this out on Twitter, if you hit the ball harder than any player in the majors 100 times, but you get out 100 times, are you really helping the damn team? No. And I know you want to look for the positives and not totally bag on the guy, but when does Sosa get a start? When does he get a day to plug in at shortstop and give DeYoung a break, or have Edmund be in the outfield for a day and have Sosa be your second baseman? Why does it have to be Carpenter is your second baseman if Edmund's in the outfield? Both of those bats are so cold. And I'm not saying Sosa's going to come up and be 4 for 5 during a game, but you don't know. You don't know unless you play him a game. And Nagowski the same way. I mean, when you've got Dean and Williams who were streaky, why not have Nagowski go out there and get a 4 or 5 at-bat game, see what he can do instead of just pinch hitting him in a meaningless game?
Yeah, I was actually looking at the numbers on I put together some Excel spreadsheets today before we got on here just to see who had done what and runners in scoring position and all that. And, Carp basically has the starters' numbers. I think he's like 4 at-bats behind Arenado and Goldschmidt because Goldie missed a game also. So he's pretty much right in line with everyone else. His playing time hasn't really changed. He sat today because there's a lefty up, but the big thing for Carp is not even his hard hit ball rate or his launch angle or any of that. It's been his strikeouts and his inability to identify pitches. And even Edmund's, I like watching Edmund's commentate because I think he does have some good knowledge, especially when it comes to hitting. But he's even pointed out that Carp looks really lost, and it's a shame to see him look like this. But he does. It's like he's trying to search too much, and I think no one's going to say this, but I think he's drastically overthinking it, and he's expecting something else and he's not getting it. He's looking at too many pitches. He's thinking he's the Carp of 4 years ago that was a base machine, and he's not. Now we just need him to hit a home run on occasion or do a bunt hit the opposite way. But still you have to feel bad for guys like Sosa and especially Nagowski. Whenever you see there's a chance to have someone come in the game and it's Carp every time, and Edmund is getting thrown in the outfield. So really Carpenter is still, even though he's making decent money and you expect him to be on the team, and I don't have a problem with him getting opportunities from time to time, but every time he's in the game, Edmund's in the outfield and Nagowski is still sitting. I would like to see Nagowski in left field and Edmund stay at second like we just talked about, right, Larry? You have to figure it would be nice to see him get a chance, or maybe give DeYoung a day or two off.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this early on that as DeYoung always seemed like he got that hot start and he cooled off come June because he played every single game, every single inning, because he never had a quality backup. Sosa is decent with the glove. I mean, that's what we need. We don't need him hitting 500 because, A, nobody else is hitting over 100, so what's the difference? And it's not like he lets you down because we know DeYoung's not hitting. So what are you really giving up there to let him play? Maybe if Sosa has a good outing, does that affect, the makeup of the game because it says, hey, wait a minute, this guy's better than DeYoung because he fields and he's hitting. So now what do I do with DeYoung? And that's what my fear is I think a lot of this is driven by outside forces that unfortunately are money related. So you at times I just don't know what the thinking is. Like you said, Nagowski, why isn't the guy not at least getting a shot? I mean, you're playing with basically 10 to 11 players out of 15. And that's not fair to the other 4 guys. And I realize this isn't about being fair or whatever it is, the major leagues, but your team's not hitting. Why is the hottest hitter from spring training not getting a chance?
Yeah. I would just figure, especially with the offense being what it is and we're searching for it, that they would have, at least had a little more than a sample serving size of game action. Sosa made 1 start and he was 1 for 2 with a walk and a strikeout. So I figured he might get another look, especially with Young obviously struggling and racking up a lot of strikeouts. But we are starting to see some better lineups mix up a little bit. Maybe that'll help. Who knows what will happen next week. I know the first game coming up against the Reds on Friday, we're facing Sonny Gray, who's back in the rotation, and then we've got Wade Miley on Saturday, who's lefty, and we also missed him the first time around. So it'll kind of be a different-looking Reds lineup, but maybe that'll be good for us. And hopefully Tyler Naquin and Castellanos cool down a little bit before we have the Reds coming into town. I still don't know what the hell a Red is after all these years being a baseball fan. I have no clue whatsoever. But Chris, do you want to touch on the social media, the Facebook page group real quick, and our kind of status with YouTube to kind of let everybody know where we're at?
Yeah, both Facebook page and group are still growing. The Facebook page is over 63,000 followers now. The Facebook group is coming up on 39,000, so we'll hit that 40,000 member mark here soon. As far as the YouTube channel, we said last week we hit 500 subscribers, which is awesome. We've also reached over 10,000 views for the channel. So even though it says on there that we started the channel in December of 2020, we didn't put out our first episode until early February. So just a few months to have 10,000 views. That's, a testament to everybody that has tuned in and subscribed, which we encourage everybody to do. And also like and share this stuff so, your friends can, catch up on it. And there's only so many hours in the day and places we can share this content to. So we do rely heavily on the engagement and interaction with the Facebook page and group, and also on Twitter and Instagram. Just anybody that follows us, we do appreciate it and hope everybody will continue supporting us by pushing this stuff out.
Yeah, very well said. And great work. That's a lot of that is a lot of Chris's work. He puts a lot of time and effort into that. He does a fantastic job, and he's one of the reasons that the channel has grown so quickly as well. So good job, Chris. Thank you for all your hard work and effort.
Total team effort, guys. Total team effort.
Yeah, exactly. Then after the Reds come to town this weekend, Friday through Sunday, the Phillies come in and follow them right after that, Monday through Thursday for a 4-game set. It'll be interesting to see how the team's looking then, if Harper's still going to have his back issues. He looked pretty locked in last time. It's always exciting to see a player the caliber of Bryce Harper come to town regardless of what team he's playing for. So, and also Chris has been doing his other podcast, his audio podcast called Cardinal Cuts with Chris Wallace. We do a live version of that once a month. The next time we're going to be doing that is May the 10th.
Yeah.
That's so for the Facebook people, that's May the 10th. We had a good turnout last time, so obviously we're going to do it again. Chris, you want to go over that just for a minute?
I just appreciate everybody that's tuned into it. It's something that, I do weekly. Sometimes I might go, a little over a week before I get to it, but I just do a Q&A where I'll put a post up on our Facebook group or on Twitter and let fans ask just random Cardinal related questions that I can answer from a fan perspective and kind of get to interact and engage with folks that way. But usually keep it around 20, 30 minutes and don't want to keep people listening too long and burn them out of podcasts. But, it is a fun way to kind of give a unique spin, something a little different.
Yeah. I enjoy listening to it. I'm not just saying that because we're recording this.
It's got to be the banjo music in the background.
It's definitely the banjo music. And then, I just get, even though it's not a video, it's audio, I can see you there with your beard, the banjo, and, your cousins are in the corner on like a hay bale.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like maybe Larry's there in some overalls with a jug. That's how I picture it all in my mind.
That sounds like a nightmare. Don't be turning people off of it.
Well, that's why I said it's just audio only. So it's all thing. You just to visualize people. You're welcome. Then I've got a podcast that I've been working on. I haven't put it out on a regular basis because it's called Redbirds. It's Red Wine, and it has an emphasis on the minor league players and who to keep an eye out, who's hot, who's not. I'm going to cover that in more detail whenever the minor league season starts, which I did want to cover also. The Memphis Redbirds, the Springfield Cardinals, and the Palm Beach Cardinals, the three main affiliates that we have, are all going to begin play at their home fields May the 4th. The Redbirds are going to be playing Durham, Springfield's playing Wichita, and Palm Beach it's going to be playing, I think it was Fort Myers. But so it's kind of exciting. Minor league baseball is going to be starting up. I know for you people that live in Memphis or Springfield, you're pretty excited about it. Going to a Redbird or Springfield Cardinal game is pretty exciting. So once those games get up and rolling, I'll have a lot more content. Right now, I'm just kind of covering a lot of the same stuff, and I didn't want to, bore people to death by, just giving them the same information over and over again. So once those get started, I'll be able to cover those games in depth, talk about statistics and who's performing well, who might be on the verge of a call-up, and even our rehabbing Cardinals that are coming up. I'll be able to cover them a little bit as well for what we don't cover here. So keep that in mind coming up in May. I'll definitely start putting it out on a regular basis. Larry, what about you? Do you have anything in closing as we finish out the show here?
No, I do nothing. I just show up here. That's all I do. No. I mean, I'm looking for May, the turn of the calendar days, and better and more fielding, better hitting. So I think it'll be fine.
It's always nice to turn the page of the calendar. Hopefully the Cardinals do that as well, and the rotation looks to change, and maybe they start to figure some things out. And we don't want to cover it because we don't want to get too tight in, but Wainwright is having a good performance here this evening. He's already into the 7th inning, so that's the last thing I saw. So as we talked about, no one going past the 5th. We've already managed to do that tonight, so hopefully this is a turning point. Chris, closing thoughts?
Well, I know there's a lot of people that are wanting to hit that panic button already, but as of the recording here, you've got the Yankees who are in last place in their division. Nobody would expect that. You've got the Seattle Mariners who beat the Dodgers last night, who are, I think, 11-4. Nobody would have saw that coming. It's still early, folks. I think we've got a good, solid team. I don't think nobody needs to hit the panic button right now. But the Cardinals do have some things they need to work on. The pitching needs to go longer than 5 innings. The bats need to be more consistent. And hopefully May will be a better, hotter month than April.
Yeah, I'm hoping whenever the minor league season gets going to, some of these guys like Oviedo and even Liberatore, some of these guys get in and get throwing and performing well, and they make the Cardinals make some roster decisions kind of like we think they should now in a couple of key places. Hopefully these guys are performing well in the minor leagues, and it kind of forces their hand. So I'm excited to get that going, get those guys in game action, playing someone other than their own teammates, kind of see what we might have in the pipeline that could help us out even this year. So we're looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to minor league baseball starting up. Looking forward to the weekend series, and hopefully we're turning the corner with this new batting order. So yeah, people don't panic yet. Hopefully we can, turn the corner and close out April with a couple of wins to start off May on a winning streak.
That would be great. And I want to again remind people that they're catching half the show or towards the end, that we want everybody to like and subscribe. Again, we've reached over 500 subscribers, 10,000 views. We want to just keep extending a thank you to those that have subscribed, and want to again just ask you to share with your friends, share the link out on your Facebook timeline or on Twitter. Any place you can share it out helps us out a ton, and we appreciate everybody.
Yep. Thanks everyone for the support. We appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you for a conversation with the nation on Thursday. And go Cards.
Go Cards.
Brad's trying to join. There he go. No.
He's in. He's out. He's in. There's
Brad. He's connecting to audio. He's taking a nap on his couch. Still connecting. Still connecting. It's okay. We can edit this all out.
I figured. Come on, Dean. You're due, big boy. Nope, he came, he left.
He left, so we'll move along. Should be fun games. Like I said, I wish they were spaced out with the Nationals and the Phillies a little more, but it is what it is. So the Cardinals will have an interesting. What's that, Chris?
I was dogs barking.
Your feet hurt?
Yeah.
Are your dogs going to get fed? Is what that is?
No, that's taking going home.
Mine's going to happen any second. I'm actually wondering where my. That's why I was telling you ahead of time. I'm like, yeah, we'll have to edit it up because I know she's going to be on any second.
I was looking at my phone. I'm like, yep, I'm going to hear dogs barking pretty quick.
We probably take
That sounds like another show we had one time where the dogs were going crazy.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Uncle Jed!
I don't miss that a bit.
The dogs are barking. I didn't know. You and Tina had some kind of role-playing thing going on or what?
Yeah.
Through 7 for Wayno, man.
I know, and we have a pinch hit opportunity, and it's Matt Carpenter.
Matt Carpenter.
God.
And he flew out.
I'm so over the Matt Carpenter deal.
They gotta let him play, man. You know they're gonna give him every chance they can for this month. If he's still on the roster in May, then I'm done with this month.
Oh, he's still going to be playing in May, you guys. He's not going to be done.
Yeah. He's gotta go. I mean, I'm sorry. If I'm a baseball player, I'm gonna run it, man. I'm not gonna look that bad. I don't care. How many millions of dollars does the guy need?
Oh,
No, that's not gonna be the outtake. Go ahead, show it up. Where's my dollars? Where's my dollars?
It's bad that I got an erection.
It is actually.
I thought, Larry, I thought you were going to jump in and say, me too.
No thanks. I've had it. It's not that good, Jared.
I like Chris is coming alive from Studio 42 there now.
Yeah.
Old Mazalog jersey going on.
Oh, yeah.
I like it. Putting the work in.
Yeah, trying.
I noticed, I'm sure you did too, Larry's mic doesn't work as good.
Mine doesn't?
It wasn't picking you up until like your first couple words. You have like a loud exhaust, you feel like a fan or something.
No, that was me, I think.
Oh, well, then it's fucking up Larry.
Yeah, because I've got a pillow cover in the vent here in the floor. But yeah, that's probably on
What
my.
kind of AC system? What kind of system you got in your fucking house? I thought Larry fucking had a helicopter outside. Waiting to fucking take you home.
It's literally my computer's like a foot from it. I don't know. Jared's kicking ass in fantasy though.
I can't get that.
We were neck and neck, dude. You had me fucking worried. And I went and picked up. I used my fifth, move to pick up a reliever that was starting for a day, and that helped me out. And I'm like, shit.
I'm getting smoked right now by Juneau Eskimos, 41-107.
He's got a good team.
I don't know how Boyd keeps winning, man. Boyd has like a shit team, and went and like picked up all these like free agents. And he's doing what he did last year. He's beating the hell out of people. And he didn't even draft his team. He kind of was like on the auto draft. I don't know.